Igbo Kwenu. Sorry, pardon me. I might not pronounce it very well, but it's understandable. Welcome to my digest on Nigerian politics. And if you are new to this platform, endeavor to share, subscribe, and follow so that these videos could be recommended to others. We'll be taking a deep look to the Nigerian political atmosphere if the Igbos are truly marginalized as a tribe in Nigerian politics. Feel free to drop your point, your own comment of what you see about Nigerian politics, and if truly Nigeria is actually putting the Igbos in a bad spotlight in politics. And also, we'll be talking a little about the current government in power and what they are doing well and what they are not doing well. But I think if I could recall one of the most preacher I hold dear to heart, Pastor Banky, he always said that he always says this that you would always praise the previous administration when the new government comes in, and it's never easy in ruling Nigeria. You would always praise the previous administration when a new power comes in. That's how Nigerian politics have always been. Yeah. Now, back to the Igbos. Are the Igbos truly marginalized? This is actually a deep context in Nigerian politics. And this is something that is actually that we can actually debate it for like look at it deeply. And I think it's something that is even politically debated in a landscape that you could hold on and say, why is it the war? What happened that the Igbos are actually being pushed aside? So I'm actually going to break it down in a lot of context. And the first one we'll look at it's like from a historical context, the Civil War shadow. Yes, the Civil War shadow. What happened after the Civil War? What happened? And I think we'll have to go back to the 1967 and 1970, where a lot of people felt that the Igbos were marginalized. There were policies that were held back then about the no victor, no vanquish. I think these were systematically excluded in the highest levels of military and political power for decades. But the truth about this deficit is that the Nigerian establishment cited a reason why the Igbo people has not held the presidency since the return of democracy in 1999, excluding the Nnamdi Azikiwe legacy, because it was more like a largely ceremonial role, if we could even say, and even the Johnson Aguiyi's brief military tenure. And sometimes, if you look at the structural and institutional factors, most critics of the current systems point to specific hard numbers like state distribution. I think the Southeast has only 5 states, while some other regions have 6 and 7, like that. But let's dive away from that context. From your personal day to day life, how have you seen the Igbos? How have you related with the Igbos? Like, you should know them very well. Like, what is your take about the Igbos? What would you say about them? For me, for my own personal life journey, I'm going to say that the Igbos are one of the best people I've met as a tribe, to be honest with you. From a mindset point of view, from a, from that individuality perspective of a human trying to find a way of a better life. Yes. Productivity, the Igbos. Yeah. I grew up with the Igbos and they taught me a lot from friends, like from my childhood. I've had a link with the Igbos. I actually am not Igbo by tribe. I'm from Cross River State, precisely Voodoo, where you have the Dokato Ranch and all like that. There is something about the Igbos that is unique. There is something outside the Nigerian political atmosphere that is painted that the Igbos are betrayers or this and that. The Igbos are not really betrayers. Let's keep that aside. Most of the Igbos are related with are good people, people, beautiful soul. Forget about what the political atmosphere have sensed and have held in large that these Igbos are this. Trust me, if I want to be honest with you, there's a phrase I always say that the Igbos are their own problem. Yes, the Igbos are their own problem in this political context. Yes, the Igbos are their own problem, and it will take even 100 more years. An Igbo man can't even be a president of Nigeria. Even in the next 100 years, an Igbo man cannot be the president of Nigeria. Why? Because the Igbos are their problem. Yes, most Igbos in the political sector, who are even high ranked or mostly in big positions, do sell out the remaining ones. Yes, now let us look at Peter Obi, for instance, at someone who came out to, I think he was a presidential candidate for the Labour Party. What happened? You saw that a whole lot of his brothers were not even supporting him. But look at the political atmosphere where it has to be Yoruba and like the Northerners. Don't you see how they support their brothers? That context can be looked at when it comes to politics from the Southeast. Why? That's where the Igbos are their problems. There is no love. There is no genuine love. There is no championship that you can actually champion this person to be the leader of Nigeria. And he has all the qualities. He has all the qualities to be a Nigerian president. But there are dark side to this Nigerian politics that a whole lot of people don't know. They are actually deep dark side. And he was exposing a lot of them. And you know, when you're trying to cut food from people's mouth, it's not going to work. They are godfathers in this political atmosphere that you can't just trample upon them and walk free. It doesn't work that way. That's why I think 5 years ago, I made a comment, and it should be 6 years ago. I said that even in the next 100 years, an Igbo man cannot be a president of Nigeria because the Igbos are their own problem. I just hope the Igbos come to that love atmosphere where they begin to see themselves as people who can challenge for political positions and begin to place themselves in political positions where it will benefit them going forward as a tribe to be celebrated in years to come. Because Nigerian presidency have all the like it has been it comprises only those from the Yorubas and the Northerners. Those are the people who have been ruling Nigeria since 1999 when Nigeria returned to democracy. And it's actually wrong. It's really wrong. The Igbos are actually the ceiling where they place them, even in the zone itself, it's extremely poor. Extremely poor. Extremely poor. Are we even talking the case about even in Nnamdi Kanu, which we are going to come into that. Did you see any support from the governors? There is no support. And how would a tribe, whom some refer as the lion and the King Solomons of Africa, don't have the wisdom to champion themselves forward? There is really, really in-depth lack of knowledge from a political atmosphere from the Igbos. Then why some would say maybe they are not really concerned with Nigerian politics and they're facing their productivity in businesses. That's also a context to look at and could understand from a perspective. But when it has to do with them saying they're being marginalized, then it means you cannot hold two statements to be true or to be false. Yes, if you are actually focused on your business, then you shouldn't be saying you are being marginalized. And yes, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be saying that, except it's a dialogue that will be had. Like we're going to have a dialogue to understand deeply about whom some refer as the lion and the King Solomons of Africa, don't have the wisdom to champion themselves forward. There is really, really in-depth lack of knowledge from a political atmosphere from the Igbos. Then why some would say maybe they are not really concerned with Nigerian politics and they're facing their productivity in businesses. That's also a context to look at and could understand from a perspective. But when it has to do with them saying they're being marginalized, then it means you cannot hold two statements to be true or to be false. Yes, if you are actually focused on your business, then you shouldn't be saying you are being marginalized. And yes, you shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't be saying that, except it's a dialogue that will be had. Like we're gonna have a dialogue to understand deeply about this Igbo's ideology on why they favor their businesses and they don't actually go deeply into politics. Then maybe we could also look at the case of the Nnamdi Kanu, where he talks about a referendum and the Nigerian government are not buying into that. I think he's currently in prison for life, except he's granted a presidential pardon. But we'll come to that. There are also a counter argument on the flip side about economic dominance, because Igbos are often described as the engine room of the Nigerian economy because they dominate the commerce and a massive presence in every single state in the country. There's no place you go to that you'll not see an Igbo man. That's why there's always a saying that any state, anywhere you are, and you don't see an Igbo man, run for your life. That place is not fruitful. The Igbos are known for being fruitful, blooming. They blossom everywhere they are. They show you a sense of productivity. And if you look at it from a growth perspective, most of the Igbos who have been in business 10 years ago, when you were even growing up as a child, you will see that they have actually grown to a different level and there is growth in business and in productivity that they are enjoying from. So we'll clap for the Igbos in that regard. I think they're very, very high on productivity. And most of them are they'll say high-ranking Igbos have held significant positions such as secretary to the government of federation, the Senate president, and various high-profile ministerial slots. Then also their internal leadership, some critics argue that the southeastern political leaders haven't always used their allocated resources effectively to develop the region, suggesting the modulation might be coming from within, just like I was saying earlier. But I think it's not something we could hold on and could say that. I won't agree with that. Actually, I won't agree with that. It's not about maybe establishing a lot of things within here. It's about the political landscape of how they are being treated. Yes, it's about the political landscape of how they are being treated. I'm someone who advocates for, when you say United Nigeria should consist of the Igbos being treated fairly. I think there's a particular tribe in the country, I think, which is I don't want to mention them. They say they are Nigerians, like they do things and get scot free with them. Whatever they are treated as these are the real Nigerians, and that's a problem for a little child growing up, growing to see these things about this beautiful country we talk about. We talk about a beautiful country that is already selected to only a particular sector of people. And that's an error going forward, don't you see? It's a big error, which is supposed to be really looked at and all like that. I think institutionally, the data regarding state and local government actually counts to the support that the Igbos are truly marginalized. Yes, we are going to look at that data. I will be bringing up that data because the Igbos are truly marginalized. The lack of an Igbo president remains a major flashpoint for this feeling of this exclusion. Yes, because if an Igbo man cannot become the president of Nigeria, then it's clearly that they are marginalized. It's clearly that they are marginalized. There is no part of a tribe sector here, given in the context of how big the tribe is, that have not produced a president. They have. It's only the Igbos that are missing from that landscape. Why are they missing? It is because there is something that God, some godfathers in Nigeria have looked at and said, no, we cannot allow an Igbo man to become the president of Nigeria. And I'll be giving you insight of how beautiful, if an Igbo man becomes the president of Nigeria, and how Nigeria will transform even more beautiful than Dubai. I'm telling you, I think I had a conversation with someone about that Nigeria, if Nigerian resources, a lot of things are done clearly well, Nigeria is better than Dubai. If Nigerian resources are actually acquired directly from a honest source, Nigerians' budget funds are treated rightly, Nigeria should be better than Dubai. We should have a country to celebrate, to serve for. But we can't have that in this country because everyone is stomach infrastructure, and you cannot blame some of them. You cannot blame some of them. It is always easier said than done. Yes, forget a lot of human people tell you this and that, this and that, this and that. When they get to power, this story always easier said than done. Yes, always easier said than done. A lot of people, when they are given that position, you begin to see that some most things are not naturally clear eye, just like it's we almost say things. A lot of the world is deeply spiritual. So we actually are we providing a clear picture of the current political landscape for appointment dated from 2023 to 2026 to clearly show you that the Igbo'S are marginalized. Really, really marginalized. I think the ministerial cabinet, the inner cycle from the 1999 constitution mandates that at least one minister must come from each state. However, because the Southeast only have 5 states, they are mathematically limited in a system that often prioritizes zonal balance. The Southeast holds 10.4% of the cabinet, 5 ministers. Northwest and Southwest lead with 29.9% each, 11 ministers each. The gap, despite having significant population, the Southeast has the smallest footprint in the presidential cabinet compared to all geopolitical zones. How can we have a president when even you could see that the ministers, they can only produce 5 ministers that is close to the presidential cabinet? That is a whole lot that needs to change. The Igbos needs to be allocated more states because they have a large population. That's why you see them always in different everybody. There's no place in the country that is fruitful that an Igbo man is not there. That have to be looked at. Also, we'll look at the federal leadership, CEOs, DJs, and executive secretaries. When looking at the head of agencies, you see that the Northwest have 22.1%, North Central 19.5%, Southwest 18.5%, Northeast 14.7%, South 12.8%, and the Southeast have 12.4%. This is Federal Character Commission Analysis, October 2025. This is how low the percentage is from a federal leadership. And it's very, very poor. Very, 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 very poor. They have been excluded from a whole lot of things. And this data have actually drawn deeply why the Igbos feel marginalized. So I pray someday the government begin to look at how they could try to integrate, to bring the Igbos deeply into government. Yes, there was the Biafran war. You guys settled and everything is fine. If you are not aligned them into power, then it means that you have not settled with them. That means there is something you are not really telling Nigerians. It means you are still holding grudges against the Igbo man. Yes, you are still holding grudges because an Igbo man have the same right and chance. Since you are zoning now, you're always zoning presidency. Why is it that the presidency have never been zoned to the Southeast? Why? Why have